everyone, and welcome to the brand new ICTV show On the Clock. I'm your host, CC Cam, and I couldn't be more pumped to kick off this season alongside our fantasy analysts and GMs. We got a stacked lineup today, as our fantasy analysts will be giving their top fantasy lineup for this coming week. Then your GMs will be drafting their lineups to win the NBA Finals. All that and so much more on today's episode of On the Clock. I'm now with Patrick and Zach, our expert fantasy analysts, and going into week 7, the stakes are getting higher, and this past week was dominant for many players. Now you both get to pick players who caught your eye or make an impact this coming week. So Zach, who are you picking first in your fantasy lineup this week?
So my first pick for the fantasy lineup this week is going to be Bucs quarterback Baker Mayfield. Now, he's going up against the Baltimore Ravens, who have allowed 298 passing yards per game, and they're ranked 31st in the league in passing yards given up and fantasy points given up to QBs in fantasy. And also, Baker Mayfield has 15 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, and it's the easy pick.
I absolutely love that pick. Zach, Baker Mayfield's going to have a great week against a terrible Baltimore Ravens pass defense. Moving on to my first pick, I'm going to go with Los Angeles Rams running back Kyren Williams. The Rams are riddled with injuries right now. Puka Nakua's on IR. Cooper Kupp's out. I think you look at a guy like Kyren Williams, who has been the best player on the Los Angeles Rams this year. He's got a great receiving back. He's a great running back, obviously. And you look at a team that he's playing, like the Las Vegas Raiders. They have the 26th ranked overall defense, and I think he's primed for a big week this week.
Now, before we get into your next pick, Zach, do you think Baker will stay pretty consistent throughout the rest of the season compared to other QBs going forward?
Yeah, 100%. I think he's just going to continue to ball out and be the quarterback that we all know him to be, and that the prospect that he was supposed to be during the draft and be one of the best quarterbacks of the year so far. So now for my next pick, actually, Patrick, I love that Kyren Williams pick. He's an absolute workhorse. He's going to be great this weekend. So for my next pick, I got Tony Pollard against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have the 31st worst defense against the run all year. They've allowed 94.6 rushing yards per game to starting running backs, and Tony Pollard's been getting 16-plus carries in 4 out of the 5 games that he's played so far.
Once again, incredible pick. Tony Pollard is going to have a great week. He runs the ball really well for that Tennessee Titans team. My next pick, is going to be Jamar Chase going up against the Cleveland Browns. Jamar Chase is the wide receiver 2 this year. Him and Joe Burrow already have that automatic connection, and I think that against a Cleveland team that's not terrible, they're not great either, I think Jamar Chase is going to explode this week.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, once again, Patrick, well done. He's a great wide receiver. We know him as one of the top wide receivers in the game, and I think against that defense, he's gonna continue to eat. Now, another wide receiver on the board that I'm taking is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's playing in a dome this week. He's playing against Minnesota. Jared Goff loves himself a dome. Minnesota can't stop the slot. Amon-Ra St. Brown lines up 75% times in the slot. He's going to feast this week.
Great pick, Zach. Wide receiver 1 on one of the best teams in football. I absolutely love it. I'm going to go with Brock Bowers. I know I'm picking 2 guys from the exact same matchup, but look, you look at Brock Bowers and you think, is this guy really a rookie? I mean, he's already taken the league by storm in a year that's been really down for tight ends. I think Brock Bowers has a great week against the Los Angeles Rams defense that, once again, riddled with injuries. They're not going to be able to do much about him.
I mean, Patrick, he's a rookie. We've seen him. He's projected 13.5 points. That's almost like the new Travis Kelce. I think that's great, honestly. Now for my flex, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here, and I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson against the Eagles. The Eagles are 26th worst against slot defenses, against slot wide receivers, and Wan'Dale lines up in the slot almost every single time. And even with Malik Neighbors there, he still averages 13.2 points, and without Malik Neighbors, he averages 13.2 points. And I can see him getting in the end zone this weekend. I think it's perfect.
That's a great pick. I'm not a big Giants guy myself, Patriots fan here, so I don't really know about it, but I completely trust your judgment. I really like the Wan'Dale Robinson pick. I'm going to pick the guy that I was going to pick as my RB1, had to move him to flex. It's going to be Derrick Henry. Look, Derrick Henry, he's the best running back in football. It's not even close. Tampa Bay doesn't have that great of a run defense. I think Lamar Jackson running that triple option with Derrick Henry is going to be an absolute force this week. Look for at least 2 touchdowns out of him.
Patrick, no doubt Derrick Henry has been on absolute tear lately, as this past Sunday's win against the Commanders, he ran for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's on pace to rush for 1,995 yards this season. But do you think he'll stay healthy enough for the rest of the season to keep putting up these kind of numbers?
Well, Cece, I don't know if he'll continue to put up these kind of numbers. I would say that he's going to stay healthy and continue his solid production. Obviously, what he's doing right now is unprecedented for a guy his age at the running back position. And yeah, I do think that John Harbaugh is going to end up managing him. He's going to keep getting decreased snap counts into the playoffs. But if you mean in terms of being healthy and consistent, I think he's definitely got what it takes.
Well, some great picks to take note of. Might have to make some own changes to my own team after that. But we will be right back in just a moment with our GMs for the long-awaited draft segment. It's reached the time for our final segment of the show, and I'm now joined with our GMs as the NBA regular season will tip off a week from now, but it's never too early to start thinking ahead to the NBA Finals. Now, you guys get the opportunity to draft a lineup to win the NBA Finals, but the twist is you can only draft of 1 player from each team. So if a player from the Celtics is drafted, you can't take another player from them. For example, if you take Jason Tatum, that means Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and any other player from the Celtics are off the board. That also includes coaches. So Jack, starting off with you, who is your first pick?
Well, I'm going to take the best player in the NBA, 3-time NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. I am so pumped to have this guy, so pumped to have the first pick. This is the best player in the NBA.
All right, Evan, you're now on the clock for your first pick.
I'm really excited for this pick. I'm going to be going with Jason Tatum from the Boston Celtics. That's such a great team. You have to block them early, and Jason Tatum is obviously the best player on this team despite what anybody tells you. So I'm going with Jason Tatum.
And to round out your first picks, Falco, who is yours? You're on the clock.
Well, thank you, CC. Those are 2 great picks, by the way, guys. But I have the first back-to-back pick. My first pick, I'm going to have my center position filled out, too. I'm picking Joel Embiid, former MVP, incredible talent. I think he'll be great. And for my second pick, give me a point guard. I need SGA, my pick to win the MVP. He can shoot middies, he can pass the ball. He can really do it all.
Falco, you know you're trying to win the finals, right? Embiid's never been past the second round.
Yeah,
Embiid consistently ducks Jokic and Tatum.
Okay.
All right,
That's
well,
fine.
I'm just going to go into my pick here. I'm going with my point guard, and I am taking Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. How he fell to this pick, I don't even know. I think you messed up pretty bad not taking him there. But Luka Doncic, he absolutely carried this Mavs team to the finals. I'm going to go in with Luka Doncic at my point guard.
See, I'm up next. I'm going with my second pick. I have back-to-back. I'm going with another finals MVP, had one of the greatest performances ever in a finals game, Giannis Antetokounmpo. This guy, he's a run and dunk man. He is amazing. And for my next pick, I'm going, why not just go crazy? I'm going to go Kevin Durant. This guy, the most efficient and the best scorer in NBA history. I now have a lineup. No one shorter than 6'11" on this team. I'm so excited to have this good of a team right now.
Well, he went with size, so I feel like I naturally have to go with size. I'm going with Victor Wembanyama as my center. Basically the tallest dude in the league. Could have been the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Probably would have got it if he wasn't a rookie. He's absolutely phenomenal at basketball, and he's also the best player on the Spurs.
I respect that pick, but you guys are picking size. I'm picking athleticism. So my next pick, that being said, is Anthony Edwards. This guy can dunk on all of those centers. This guy he can shoot, he can play defense, and he can dunk. Like, what else do you need from somebody who was just picked in 2020 and is already considered to be a mini Michael Jordan? That being said, my next pick is the greatest of all time, LeBron James at the small forward position. You need leadership, he's got that. You need finals experience, he's got that. And you need a well-rounded player, you got that in the greatest of all time, LeBron James.
So I don't hate either of those picks, but I do not think there's ever a world where we're going to be seeing Anthony Edwards dunk on Victor Wembanyama. Yeah. That's my thing. With my next pick, I don't love going here, but I feel like I have to block the Knicks and I need size, so I'm going to Karl Anthony Towns. It's an interesting pick, but blocking the Knicks is definitely something you have to do, especially with Jalen Brunson on the board, and I really like some of the guards that are left, so I'm going to have to go with Karl Anthony Towns.
Wait. Cat? You just... Okay, well, I'm now going to pair the greatest point guard to ever play the game with this loaded lineup. And actually, I have back-to-back picks. I'm going to put Steph Curry at my shooting guard. This guy, he doesn't need to control the ball with the guy who's going to take my next pick. This guy, he's an electric shooter, the greatest shooter of all time, the greatest point guard to ever play the game of basketball. And at my point guard, I'm going with Tyrese Halliburton, a guy that can literally control the ball. He's going to pass it to all 4 of these guys, and he doesn't even need to score. He's going to average like 10 points on this team, but he's going to average 15 assists. He is the perfect point guard for this team.
All right, Evan, back to you.
You know, I really like having Halliburton there as your facilitator, but I have to go with a coach next because I'm going with a coach who's basically been taking these Heat teams somewhere in the playoffs. I'm going with Eric Spoelstra. He took an 8-seed Heat team to the finals just 2 years ago, and that team was absolutely terrible. How can he not win me for this team?
Man, Evan, I'm so grateful for you picking Karl-Anthony Towns because you just left a top 3 power forward in the NBA in Domantas Sabonis, who was first in rebounds just this past year, top 10 in assists. Keep laughing, dude. You just picked Karl-Anthony Towns.
Called him top 3.
The top 3 power forward. Wait, who else are you going to pick over
I
Giannis?
have Giannis. I don't need to worry about any of this.
Yeah, Giannis.
I have Giannis.
You're picking Karl-Anthony Towns. You're talking about power forwards. Come on, stop it. Top 10 in assists, first in rebounds per game, and first in total rebounds. Domantas Sabonis fits perfectly on my team. And that being said, a sixth man, not a sixth man, excuse me. I need a head coach. I'm gonna pick the guy who was paired with LeBron James during that 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers run. I'm picking Ty Lue, current head coach of Los Angeles Clippers.
I mean, Kawhi was right there for the taking, but you do you. I'm going to be going with my shooting guard to round out my starting 5. I'm going with Donovan Mitchell. He's a great basketball player, probably one of the more underrated players in the league. I feel like people consistently forget how good he is at basketball. And if you put him on a team like this, he can absolutely do some great things.
Up next, I'm going to take my head coach. All the other head coaches are gone. I have back-to-back picks. I'm just going to take my head coach first. Give me Pelicans head coach Willie Green. This is a great head coach, young head coach. He's not going to try to control any of these other 5 or 6 on the teams, but he is going to do an amazing job. And for my 6th man, why not get a little more athletic? Give me Ja Morant. He is one of the best point guards in the NBA right now. He's super athletic, will dunk on anybody, and he can shoot the ball, and I'm not talking about his Instagram lives.
Well, I don't hate either of those picks, but to round out my team, my 6th man is going to be Paolo Banchero. Having him off of the bench means that when you guys put your big men on the bench, Paolo Banchero is going to come off the bench, and he's going to be doing amazing things. He just took the Orlando Magic to the 5 seed in the East on his own. He's amazing.
No, that is a great pick. Both of your 6 mans are incredible. I extremely love the Paolo Banchero pick. But for the last pick in this draft, give me Trae Young, a guy who single-handedly led the Atlanta Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals just a few years ago. He doesn't have to be the best player on this team. He just needs to have some sort of leadership. He needs to shoot the ball. He needs to be in the clutch. That's why I'm picking Trae Young with the last pick.
I like that pick.
Some pretty stacked teams, if I do say so myself, but we'll be right back with our GMs to debate which team is best. Welcome back. It's now time for our GMs to each pitch why their team is the best. So, Jack, why is your team head over heels better than everyone else's?
Because simply put, my team is the best. There isn't a dull spot on this roster. There isn't a critique. There isn't anything wrong with any single player on this lineup. It fits all together perfectly. The size, the shooting, the athleticism, the ball handling, everything's there. My team is the best. I have a great head coach. I have a great 6th man. There isn't anything wrong with my team.
One big problem I have with your team is your lack of guard defense. Donovan Mitchell and Luka Doncic might each score 40 points.
Tyrese Halliburton plays fine defense.
Okay, if he's playing against Luka Doncic and Donovan Mitchell, he's going to be having some pretty big problems. And let's also talk about, I have Eric Spoelstra at head coach. Eric Spoelstra is basically the best head coach in the league right now.
Yeah,
like I said earlier, he took those absolutely terrible Heat teams all the way to the finals. How is he bad?
You know, I understand. Both of you guys really do have good teams. Jack, we talked about your offense. Let's talk about defense. Let's talk about the defense on my team. We have Joel Embiid. We have somebody in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander who can guard Stephen Curry. In the modern day.
Way.
In the modern day, he absolutely can. Or maybe 10 years ago, maybe not. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is only getting better when it comes to scoring, the mid-range, the defense. And not to mention, I have a great coach in Ty Lue here, and you're pairing him with LeBron James, the greatest of all time, with the greatest championship run of all time. Those two together, single-handedly made. That's incredible.
All right, Falco. Now I have one major critique of your team. You have one player that's ever been to an NBA Finals. Everyone else has only one other player has been to a conference finals. Everyone else has never made it past the second round. You have no playoff experience outside of LeBron, and the rest of that squad just isn't simply as good as the squad I have on this team. It's not close. And Evan, you have a good team, but you don't have any shooting. Your guards aren't strict shooters. Everyone's trying to get to the basket. There isn't good spacing. It's not going to work out, especially for a long season going against a team like I have.
I think Luka and Mitchell can both absolutely shoot the three.
They can, but they want to drive. Their first instinct is to drive.
Jason Tatum can also drive and shoot the three. Karl Anthony Towns can also drive and shoot the three. Victor Wembanyama can also drive and shoot the three.
But
I
they
understand what
want
you're saying.
to drive.
There's not a true three-point shooter, but they can all shoot threes. That's the big thing
want
here.
to.
Unlike
Yeah,
your team. Like, I get what you're saying. Your team.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, and my defense can stop all of those threes. Looking at Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Did you just put Shea and good defender in the same conversation?
Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
no,
He's a
that's
great
crazy.
defender.
That is
Ridiculous.
crazy.
He's a steals merchant. Absolute steals merchant.
Well, yeah, congratulations. Yeah, stealing's part of defense, too.
Yeah.
And you
Also,
can
do you think
play
it
the
beats
perimeter
surviving
also.
a season?
You can play the perimeter also. And you forgot to mention, let's talk about defense in general. Domantas Sabonis literally
Joel
led the league
Embiid's
in
getting
rebounds.
hurt
And you guys
within the
laughed
first
at-
game of
you
the
guys
season.
laughed
You guys
at
are
me.
done.
You're
You
guys
talking
are
about
done.
defense?
Sorry to
This is
cut
bad.
you guys off. It's hard to say which team is really the true winner, but as a Celtics fan, I'm ready for it to be June to see the Celtics go back-to-back. Well, that about wraps up everything for today's episode of On the Clock. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to tune in next week for even more hot takes and debates from our fantasy analysts and GMs. I'm CC Cam. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.